case involving Coca-Cola and the 100% fruit juice. It's kind of interesting to me because for years now, all these things you buy for your kids that say 100% juice or 80% juice, if you look at the back, it's white grape juice or apple juice or pear juice, usually concentrate, and usually white grape juice because it's one of the sweetest juices there is. So the sugar content, is actually higher than maybe the regular juice you would get. So it's used to spike, the sugar content and allow them to say it's 100% juice. But that's sort of basically like claiming that sugarcane juice is juice as well. Although we don't know what that is when you dry it or dehydrate it a little bit. Well, you concentrate white grape juice down, and you get a fairly neutral fruit flavor and pure, basically, glucose and fructose. So that's the reason. Now, Palm took them on because Palm is 100% palm juice, and they want consumers to understand there's a difference between something that's 100% the juice it claims it is and something that just claims it's 100% juice. But it sounds like the appeal court agreed that Coke was right. They are advertising correctly. It is 100% juice. It's just up to the consumer to turn the bottle over and read it. But as we know, you can't trust most people to turn the bottle over and read it. We've also talked about this in relation to global warming on this show. Remember what they told you, that the number one cause or a significant, leading significant cause of global warming is man? Well, if you're one of 1,000 possible causes and you're considered the leading cause, you may still be only a 1% contributor to the overall thing. And so therefore 99% of what's going on isn't related to you, but because you go by the relative percentages, you can still end up on top. And they used to do that if you look at the back of a box of fruit roll-ups. In order to make fruit the first ingredient, it would say strawberries, then it would say corn syrup, sucrose, high fructose corn syrup, glucose, and when you added up all the sugars, 80% of the fruit roll-up was actually made of sugar, even though fruit was the leading ingredient or the main ingredient in the mix, according to the box. Same thing with global warming when you actually study it. But what do I know? Also, just to remind you, stop over at Carlisle Beer and Cigars. It's right here in Carlisle over by the Walmart. I stopped in last night, got a couple cases of beer and cigar. Great place, convenient. Of course, my son saw the Walmart, so he immediately keyed in on what he could get there. But great place, and I recommend it. Tell him Carl sent you. Now, 1-800-734-2132. If you've got a legal question, I want to get you on the air here. I want to get you on, and I want to figure out what your problem is. So if you've got a custody problem, a divorce problem, if your wife is threatening to leave you, got custody issues. Last week we had lots of issues with neighbors and trees, my property lines. Want to talk about those? We will. Pretty much anything legal that you've been wondering about or want to know about. If you want to talk about some of the national legal issues, we're happy to do that as well. We'll always wade in on those. There's big news coming on the healthcare front still with the individual mandate and whether or not you're going to, well, I shouldn't say the individual mandate, the mandate that employers carry, contraceptive care. That's going to be a Hobby Lobby case coming up. That's going to be pretty big. The other thing that's interesting, one of the state's attorney generals has filed a lawsuit trying to force the administration to follow Obamacare because they've noticed now that the president has waived various requirements and keeps waiving or putting off various portions of the law, amazingly past November dates and things like that. So it looks like, you're trying to avoid bad results before elections. Imagine that. And saying basically, listen, let the American people know what this law really is. Don't keep postponing portions of it or hiding portions of it that you intend to put into effect later. Follow the law as you wrote it. And it's a mixed bag, because you're basically saying do what we don't want you to do, but they want them to do it to prove what will really happen. So one of the attorney generals has filed a lawsuit, and I believe one of the congressmen or senators is also filing a lawsuit along those lines.
I have a question.
Yeah.
One of the attorney generals? How many attorney generals are there?
Well, each state has one. And I should say state attorney general.
Oh,
right?
okay.
Because there's one federal attorney general.
Oh, okay.
But he's Eric Holder, and he's wholly owned by the president, okay? In fact, this comes up with Chris Christie. This bridge scandal, somebody said, did he give the order? Well, the answer is a smart politician surrounds himself with fans and sycophants and loyalists who will do what you want without you having to say it. So if you've got the right people for the job, they'll do the dirty tricks and the dirty deeds, and they know never to ask the boss or send an email to the boss. It's kind of like Not that there's any similarity between Chris Christie and Tony Soprano, except the New Jersey connection, the corpulent
Take care of that thing.
Yeah,
Take care of that thing.
The corpulent appearance and everything
Bada
else.
bing, bada.
Yeah, I mean, but those two guys, no connection at all. But it's same idea, you know. You shouldn't have to go to your underlings and tell them who to off. They should know who to do it. Now, occasionally they're going to have to come to you for some guidance, particularly when it involves somebody who's already a loyalist or something. But when it's the opposition or the enemy, they don't need specific instruction every time, or you don't want them in the job. And so shutting down the bridge was done probably, based on what we're hearing, to embarrass a mayor and cause problems for political rivals. But they're now saying it might have cost over $1 billion in productivity, and somebody might have died because the ambulance couldn't get through, and yada, yada, yada. It's just a mess. I give Christie credit for taking severe and swift action on it. The fact he did that tells me something definitely bad did happen there, whether he knew it or not. And so, this is true of every president, every governor, every politician of high office. There are loyalists that they install. There's a reason why governors always appoint their own people. They get rid of the other people and they appoint their own people because they want that circle of friends to circle the wagons if necessary. And that's a exercise of the executive authority. On the other hand, it leads to these kinds of problems. So I was told one time by a person who was at a military base that it was a colonel was explaining his new role as base commander and how he had to be careful what he said because he told somebody that the fire hydrant was in kind of a stupid spot and why would anybody have put it there? And a few days later, they were digging up the ground and moving the fire hydrant. And he asked, why are we moving that fire hydrant? And the guy looked at him and said, well, sir, you didn't want it there. And he realized that as the person in charge, his comments sometimes carried a different import than he expected and that you have to be careful. Well, it's the same thing with the president, the same thing with the governor. And then if you get the people in who just think they know what you want, you get these problems. I think I'm going to take an ad or two here, so we'll dial in 1-800-734-2132.
Hi, this is Ed Belden for your Good Neighbor Pharmacies, Big Spring, Holly, and Quality Care. Did you know that a recent survey of Consumer Report readers, 94% were highly satisfied with independent pharmacies? They also praised the pharmacists for accessibility and personal service. If you can't come to us, utilize our free prescription delivery. We have drive-up window service at Quality Care in Big Spring for your convenience. Quality Care is your local compounding pharmacy for you and your pets. Be sure to check with us before you mail away your prescriptions. You can order prescription refills 24 hours a day by phone or online. We are Holly Pharmacy in Mount Holly Springs, Quality Care Pharmacy in Carlisle, and Big Spring Pharmacy in Newville. Remember, you are our most important customer.
We truly care for you and your family. We believe in our community. We're Good Neighbor Pharmacy.
Are you planning a party?
Everybody get up.
Whether it's a wedding reception, anniversary, reunion, birthday party, or any occasion for music and dancing, I've got the perfect solution. I'm Ray Thomas, and I'm proud of my many years' experience as a party DJ throughout the mid-state. Call me for a great night of music without breaking the bank.
It's electric.
I play it all, from today's hot pop and country hits to all the old and new line dances and party favorites to classic rock, classic country, 50s and 60s rock and roll, Motown, disco, all that and much more. I'll provide the perfect mix of music for your guests and gladly play everybody's requests, all at a reasonable, sensible, fair price. Call Ray Thomas DJ Entertainment at 249-8322. That's 249-8322. Or go to WILO.com and click the Ray Thomas DJ service link. Ask about my special off-season and off-night rates, too. I guarantee your musical satisfaction. Call me today at 249-8322 or go to WILO.com and let's have a great party.
You know, 3/4 of the Earth's surface is covered by water. The rest grows plants. Hi, I'm Bob Carey, host of Garden Talk. Every Sunday, I'll explore the all-encompassing world of plants, whether they're in your garden, along the highway, or someplace a little unexpected. Learning about plants is uplifting, entertaining, and sometimes almost unbelievable. So tell your friends, tell your grandma, and yes, tell the kids that Garden Talk is on every Sunday from 11:30 to 12:30. right here on Country Gold Radio.
Can't find your NFL team on TV on Sunday? Well, find it at the Trindle Inn, Fairfield Street and Trindle Road, Carlisle. A bunch of big screen TVs, the best wings in Carlisle, and terrific beer specials make the Trindle Inn your place to be for the Sunday 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock games. Bring the gang in for a great time with great service and your team on the big screen. If your team plays Sunday, it plays at the Trindle Inn, just off the High Street exit of I-81 at Trindle Road and Fairfield Streets, Carlisle. Listen for the Trindle Kid football predictions, Saturday mornings at 11:30 on Country Gold.
1-800-734-2132. It's a way to get in to speak with Carl Rominger live on the air. Right now, it's weekend appointment once again. Here's Attorney Rominger.
Okay, so yeah, you guys got to remember that, 1-800-734-2132. And, of course, that number gets you through this morning or any other time. It'll follow me where I go. So when I'm on the air, it follows me on the air. When I'm off the air, it follows me off the air. 1-800-734-2132. I know one of you's got a legal question out there somewhere that you want answered. We got a lineup of guests coming in here, by the way. We're going to have some workers' comp guys on, which we've had in the past. So if you have some workers' compensation questions, fire them out there. We're going to get our elder care lawyer on here, Dave Nesbitt from Keystone Elder Law, and answer those kinds of questions. So if you know somebody out there, and I'll have to get a schedule posted up on the web on romingerlaw.com so you can see who the guests are going to be. If you have somebody out there, a loved one who needs some estate planning, who's headed for a nursing home, or ideally isn't there yet, because the sooner you do these things, the better. Or maybe it's yourself and you're like 55 and you're still invulnerable and invincible and never going to get ill or die or need any long-term care. You still might want to sit down and talk with an elder care attorney. Most importantly, you can get some baseline information here on the show for free, 1-800-734-2132, and we'll help you understand what it is you need to do or be thinking about. That's a very important area of our law. And I was at a lecture recently where they talked about, and I think I might have mentioned it on here before, duty of support, filial support laws, which are basically like family support laws. Pennsylvania recently, there was rumor that they were going to strike it and get rid of it. Well, what they did was they actually moved it from the judicial code to the welfare code. And now we're all responsible for the care of our parents financially. So remember when you've always said, or people have always said to you, well, if dad goes to the nursing home, they might take his estate, but they can't touch mine. Well, under the filial support laws, children have a duty of support to their parents. And it looks like, and in fact, the cases are coming out, people are being chased down for nursing home debts of their parents. Yeah, imagine that. Meaning, I don't want to scare anybody here, but now it means that there's much more advanced planning that needs to be done and thought about, which means you need to not only consider the parents' estate, but the effect of what the parents and the children do to protect the children's estates as well. And there was a case here in Pennsylvania where a guy was ordered to pay a $95,000 nursing home bill for his parents. And his objection was, first of all, I shouldn't have to because it's not my bill. And the court said, too bad, this law allows it. And then he said, and what about my 4 brothers and sisters? How come they don't have to pay? And the court said, well, you didn't ask to join them in the lawsuit. Any one of you could be responsible for it, and maybe you're all responsible for it, but they sued you, the nursing home, because he was the only local guy, by the way, so they sued the local guy, not the out-of-state people. And the court's answer to him was, you could have brought your brothers and sisters into the lawsuit. You could have filed what's called a joinder and said, hey, you got other parties out here who should be here. They're not indispensable parties, though, the court said. The court said they didn't have to be there, but they could be there. And so since they chose not to sue him and you chose not to bring him in, now imagine the love at Thanksgiving when you announce, hey, brothers and sisters, nursing home wants 100 G's. So what I'm going to do is each one of you, here's your notice that you're being dragged into the lawsuit so you can share this with me. So keep this in mind. Filial support laws, you could be responsible for paying stuff. And originally, like the last decade or two when they were being applied, it was usually when the parents and kids did something like mom's headed to the nursing home, so they transferred the house to Sonny Boy. And then mom says, well, I don't have a house. And the look-back period was not expired. Well, they could try to set aside the transaction. But sometimes if they couldn't set aside the transaction, they just go after the kid under the filial support laws. And in those cases, you would see this sort of dance to hide the asset from the nursing home or a creditor. And, well, it made sense, okay? It made sense that, okay, they did something bad, therefore they're going to get it. But the new case is very clear. There need be no bad acts. There need be no, dancing to hide things from the nursing home as the prerequisite for the creditor to come after the kids. So even if you've done everything in good faith, legally, carefully, you could still have exposure. So there's some interesting things there, though, because, for instance, a trust does not have a filial support duty. So if I successfully transfer assets from a parent to a child, they can still go after the child, okay? That'd be you. On the other hand, if we create a trust, an irrevocable trust as a third-party entity, right, and we transfer the stuff in there, and it's for the benefit of the parents and the child, they have a beneficial interest in a trust, but a trust is not a person under the, or a family member as defined under the statute. So what does that mean? That means that even a really good program that you set up 10 or 15 years ago where you're thinking about how to avoid either estate tax or most importantly, large medical bills eating up the estate and getting the money to the kids, it may need to be rejiggered and rethought because of this new level of attack that's going to be levied on it. So those are things that you should be thinking about as you sit there. And if you want to call in, 1-800-734-2132. Be happy to talk to you about wills and estates and all that good stuff. 1-800-734-2132. And, of course, we just got over the New Year's holiday. Somebody out there probably, unfortunately, got a DUI. I was telling everybody, don't drink and drive before around New Year's. Don't drink and drive at all, actually, is my general consensus. But people do, and then we have to clean up the legal messes. And it's very prevalent, much more so than you would realize. They said one time when somebody said, all the slaves in Rome should put on uniforms so we know who the slaves are. And then somebody else said, well, don't do that because then the slaves will figure out there's more of them than there are of us. Well, DUIs are getting to that point now where, not 1% of the society has them. It's a significant enough percentage that every family is going to have somebody in them who has a DUI experience. In fact, even with juries, you get a jury these days, and the average juror pretty quickly figures out this must not be the guy's first DUI because everybody knows you don't go to jail for your first DUI. You get the ARD program, which isn't always true, by the way. A lot of people don't get ARD for their first DUI, but many, many do. And some who choose to get a lawyer who wouldn't have got it get it because the lawyers know how to make sure to sort of shoehorn them in. But but my point on all that is yes, it's far too prevalent. But if you do happen to have one, I want to talk about one. Of course, we'll give you some tips and advice. We can also talk about roadside stops. On Facebook, I have a new video of me being pulled over by the police. I need to fix my registration and my inspection on my truck, apparently. Oops. And no, I knew it needed to be done. I just haven't had a chance to get it in. And I didn't want to take my other truck out on the turnpike because it's not quite turnpike worthy. So I use the turnpike worthy vehicle, which of course I need to get to the shop. So I'm going to take care of that. But it led to a police stop with a very friendly officer, by the way, who was kind of flummoxed that I was recording him. But very nice man and very interesting video. It's about 6.5 minutes long. It's right on my Facebook page if you want to jump on and take a look at it. And, of course, invite anybody to watch and take a call, 1-800-734-2132. I know we're getting some calls here. By the way, we did just make it in the ratings. According to Radio Something Something, we're the number one legal show on AM radio between 8:20 and 8:25 a.m. on the second Saturdays of the month on overcast days. I only say that because I hear these things where somebody says, well, I'm on the top charts of, and you fill in the blank. So that's our kudos to ourselves. 1-800-734-2132. I think, do I have a caller coming here? Do I have a caller?
She's not quite sure what she's doing.
Oh, she doesn't know if she wants to get on the air now?
No, she doesn't know if she wants to get on the air.
Oh.
Man, why don't you just go on the air and ask her?
Yeah, get on the air and ask me. Get her on.
All right,
All right, you're on the air. Hello?
Well, I I wanted to get a little information in private before I went on the air. Is it not possible to do that? I don't want retribution taken against me.
Oh, well, okay. Well,
Ma'am, I can tell you this. I live in Seven Gables, and there will be no retribution. Okay,
You
go ahead
do?
and ask the question. Yes, I do. I live at 201 6 Buchanan Drive.
Oh, for heaven's sakes. Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and ask your
All right.
question.
I want to break the lease because I didn't know what I was signing.
okay.
I'm not ready for assisted living. What I need is senior living, where I'm not alone. I have people that I can go next door and knock on their door. I'm free. Can we have a cup of coffee? And where I am now, I just don't see anybody for days on end. And I'm such an age that
Right.
it's a downer, and I've got Alzheimer's staring me in the face.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this question. You signed the lease. How long was it for?
It ends the end of September.
Okay, so you got a few months left.
Yeah, like $3,000 worth.
Okay, I can tell you this, ma'am. If you stay on the air when we're done, I will take your number, because what they have done, and I'm very familiar with Jandy and Sarah, the two business managers at Seven Gables. Okay, if you give me your number when we're done, just don't hang up. I will probably be able to help you not break your lease, however, but get someone to take the lease over.
Well, okay, we're working on that.
Right. Okay. Well, I might be able to help you do that. What building are you in?
I don't.
That doesn't matter. Okay, but if you stay on the line, okay, I would like to get your phone number.
I think he's got somebody who'll take your place over, so he's
Actually-
trying to tell you. Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
All right, so we already found you somebody. Look at that. The show works really well. The answer, though, if you wanted to break your lease, your reasoning is probably not legally sufficient. In other words, to break it. On the other hand, in my experience, these places will pursue the leases. I mean, they have to. But most of them will, again, especially the bigger organizations, work with you to try to get a replacement for the lease and mitigate your damages. So make sure you're careful where you're going. Do you know where you're going to go next? You got a plan?
I have to look at it one more time, but I think I do, yeah. It's just people around me and
No, I understand.
made to my comfort.
Understand. All right, well, we're going to put you on hold here, and he's going to get some information from you, all right?
All right, super.
All right, there you go. Yeah, let's talk about leases for a second. When you have a lease that you sign, it's a business contract, and I know people often say to me, well, I didn't realize this or I didn't realize that. Well, first of all, read your lease, because if you don't read your lease carefully, you'll be surprised by what's in there. Number two, make sure that your lease is kept by you. I go crazy when people come in to see me with landlord-tenant problems, either landlords or tenants, and they have no copy of the lease or no anything to do with it.
Now, if she's listening, would you, ma'am, if you wouldn't mind calling back at 243-1200, I can get your information. I will also tell you this, that Seven Gables works very closely with the Army War College for students coming in and out.
Yeah.
Several of those tenants are Army War College students, or they are in the armed forces.
Interesting. Yeah, so, I mean, and so I'm just in the back of the general lease information. So be careful what you sign and make sure you know what you're signing and what you're doing, because it's difficult to get out of a lease. Now, there are some reasons. There have been cases where people have been able to get out of a lease, for instance, because of reasons of domestic violence. And then landlords can break leases because of Drug or Cosmetic Device Act violations very easily. Even the bringing of a criminal charge or the serving of a search warrant is enough for the landlord to activate that law to kick a person out with only 7 days' notice. So anyhow, my advice is be very careful, because if something's not simply suitable to you, you don't like the view, you don't like the neighbors, it's too isolated, it's too desolate, there's too many cornfields, there's too many people, it's, I didn't know the walls were going to be this thin. Now, from a tenant standpoint, the apartment does come with the warranty of habitability, which by the way, that came from Chambersburg, Pennsylvania, in case anybody's wondering and listening, because I know you guys down in Chambersburg listen to this show. 1-800-734-2132. Many years ago, a landlord, slumlord perhaps, landlord down there, the tenant said they shouldn't have to pay their rent and they should be able to break their lease because their place was not fit to live in. And, well, you know what we found out? The Supreme Court of the United States came out and said, hey, you know what? The warranty of habitability exists, and therefore a warranty of habitability basically says that the place is livable. Doesn't mean it's going to be beautiful, doesn't mean it's going to be great, but if the heat doesn't work or the water's running down the walls or the mold's the modern one, by the way, is going crazy in the place, then it might not be habitable, and the landlord has to do that. And if you break the warranty of habitability, the person can break the lease. And that's a very, very common scenario. I have people come to see me where the landlord refuses to fix something major for some reason. Two reasons we see this usually is an amateur landlord who doesn't realize that it's their duty to fix these things and not the tenants. Or the other is it turns out the landlord is financially strapped and unable to afford the repair. And unfortunately for the tenant, that's not going to help them, but then they shouldn't have to live in squalid conditions either. On the other hand, I do get tenants that come in that are upset because, a light switch stopped working and they think that they can move out the next month when the landlord didn't fix the light switch for 5 days. I'm not certain that 5 days is unreasonable, nor am I sure that it broke the warranty of habitability. So those are various issues that come up in these leases. So what I would say to the lady out there is next time you sign a lease, be very careful about where you're going and what your expectations are, because one can't simply just dump the lease at the drop of a hat. 1-800-734-2132. 1-800-734-2132 if you want to get in on the conversation. Also want to remind you to stop over and see Harrisburg Beer and Cigar. They're over on Union Deposit Road. They got a giant walk-in humidor. That's one of my favorite places to hang out. They're having a football party coming up here for the Super Bowl, and it's always a good deal. You get a lot of cigars. You get a lot of good food. Also, today they have, I think, I'm trying to think who's coming in this afternoon. I think Rocky Patel or somebody. So they've got I'll figure that out and get back to you in a little bit on that. But they've got a big event going on this afternoon. I won't be there because I have my son this weekend. He and I are going to go to New York City to recreate Home Alone 2. So that's the plan. I'm going to grab a few ads here, and when I get back, it's 1-800-734-2132. 1-800-734-2132.
Does your mailman deliver your prescriptions? Does he know your medication history? Can he answer your prescription questions? Is your mailbox climate controlled to keep your medications from exposure to extreme cold or heat? If you can answer yes to these questions, change the dial now. If not, you'll want Hometown Pharmacy Direct to You. Hometown Pharmacy Direct to You means your prescription is in our care from start to finish if you pick it up or have it delivered. See us before mailing away your prescriptions. We are Holly Pharmacy at 31 North Baltimore Avenue in Mount Holly Springs, Quality Care Pharmacy at 1 Sprint Drive in Carlisle, and Big Spring Pharmacy at 91 South High Street in Newville. This is Ed Belden for your Hometown Pharmacies. You have a choice. Compare Hometown Pharmacy Direct to You. Come see us.
Hi, this is Ray Thomas. If you'd like to plan a very special wedding reception, anniversary, birthday party, or reunion on a sensible budget, I've got the perfect solution. Call me at 249-8322. 249-8322. I'll provide the musical entertainment for your event at a reasonable, affordable price. Whether your group likes today's hot pop and country hits, classic rock, classic country, popular line dances, ballroom dances, Motown, disco, or old-time rock and roll, I've got all the most danceable music, and I'll be happy to play your requests. Right now, several choice wedding and party dates are still open and available for your special get-together. Everybody knows the big difference between an okay event and a really fun party is the entertainment. My passion is playing great music for your event, and I take your musical satisfaction personally. So call me at 249-8322 or here at the station any weekday at 243-1200 or click my link at WIOO.com. Let's have a great party.
Have you lost your free checking? Well, Members First Federal Credit Union has the free checking account that you're looking for with no minimum balance, no monthly fees, and free overdraft protection. Plus, you'll receive a monthly cashback rebate with your Members First Visa debit card. Switch your checking account to a free Members First checking account by visiting any of our conveniently located Members First branch locations in the Cumberland Valley and Capital Region today. See how easy it is to open a free checking account and debit card with Members First Federal Credit Union. Meet the friendly staff and see why our over 200,000 members are Members First members. Open a free checking account today and see how easy it is with no minimum balances, no monthly fees, and free overdraft protection. Members First Federal Credit Union. We put our members first. Visit us online and bank with us from anywhere in the world at membersfirst.org. That's members1st.org. Federally insured by NCUA. We do business in accordance with the Federal Fair Housing Law and Equal Credit Opportunity Act. Other restrictions or conditions may apply.
Sure fresh, sure friendly, doing our best to give you more. We're your neighborhood Surefine stores.
It's the week you've been waiting for. BOGO Week at your locally owned Nell's Market Fresh Foods. Split chicken breasts, russet potatoes, fresh express garden salad, Progresso soups, Surefine shredded cheese, Oreo cookies, Peter Pan peanut butter, Hanover brand veggies, Pennsylvania Dutch noodles, Francesco Rinaldi spaghetti sauces, Chi-Chi salsas, loads of produce. Just a few of the BOGO specials at Nell's this week. See their circular for more. Go online at WILO.com and click the Nell's banner for a boatload of buy one, get one free specials. Buy any participating item and qualify for a $250 gift card. There's a made-to-order deli, cheese, seafood, sub-trays for your tailgate party, and more. Nell's Market Fresh Foods, locally owned and operated in Enola, Hanover, East Berlin, New Oxford, and on the Walla Bottom Road, Carlisle. Thank you for shopping Nell's.
Doing our best to give you more. We're your neighborhood Surefine stores.
1-800-734-2132, the number to get in to talk to Mr. Carl Rominger, the attorney at law, live in our studios at Weekend Appointment once again. Carl?
Right, and of course you heard my announcement earlier. We're the number one legal show on AM radio between 8:20 and 8:25 a.m. on the second Saturdays of the month on Overcast days.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I know, isn't it amazing?
That's
because if you do it right, you can be number one for anything. You just have to figure out. Actually, what I did is I got one of the guys from ESPN who makes up the sports stats to do this for us. Hey, can you come up with? Yes, he's the only left-handed pitcher on Tuesdays who's got an error rate against right-handed batters who are third up. Who we got? Jay.
Yeah.
How are you, brother?
It's been a tough night.
Yeah.
Am I on the air?
You're on the air. You're live.
Okay.
What'd you drink last night? What'd you?
No, I got a big audition today, and it's just one of those nights where I couldn't get to sleep, and the dogs weren't helping.
Well, I'm going to be going to Broadway today.
Yeah, so I hear.
It's going to be.
Well, you won't see me on Broadway, but at least not yet.
We're going to. My son watched Home Alone 2 apparently 1 million times over the Christmas holiday, and he said to me the other day, "Dad, will you take me to New York?" I'm like, "New York to visit your grand?" He's like, "No, New York City." I'm like, "Why?" He said, "Well, there's a lot of things to do there." And so he's convinced that he's going to find Kevin while he's there, but we'll see.
Okay. Actually, a couple of things, and I don't want to spend too much time because I get boring, but I noticed that you used to get a lot of calls on gun rights.
Yes.
Which I don't hear. Just wondered where some of those folks went or something, but I assume you're still involved in that kind of.
I do. I still do. I still talk to the 912 groups and the hunting and fishing groups and the all the other right wingers.
I don't know where they went, but this isn't really. I was in a fender bender. It was a snowstorm right after the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
I think, and it took me 3 hours to get up Blingelstown Road, and it was pretty much bumper to bumper. But and at some point, I guess I must have tapped the person in front of me. But what I thought was unusual, and we pulled over, and she was on her cell phone right away with her husband, and she seemed to have this issue about being more afraid of him and not getting all the right information. She seemed okay and everything, and it was snowing, and we were outside and trying to keep dry, exchanging information, which she, in this case, of course, I didn't have a problem if she wanted to take pictures of her, car.
Right.
I didn't have anything with me, or I didn't feel up to it. I didn't really see any damage. I thought it was a pretty minor thing. But at some point, even though I, showed her my driver's license and registration and so forth, one of the things she kind of insisted on doing, or I guess asked, is to take pictures of those documents.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no real objection. I thought it was a little strange, as if her husband is very much a detail person, and it made me a little bit suspicious.
He's an identity theft expert.
Well, I don't, so, I let her take pictures of them and everything, and that was it. We went on our way.
You're actually shopping in the Philippines right now.
Yeah. Actually, the damage turned out to be, at this point, I got a call from the insurance company, and I was a little surprised that they did that, because usually they just would pay anything, and it turned out the damage was $24. Apparently, if there was other damage to the car, they tried to pass off as...
we see that one all the time.
That kind of thing. I just was a little offended about...
you don't have to allow her to photograph.
Well, I realized that. I mean, I thought, well, what would be the point unless you've had issues before where people are flashing, fake...
Yeah, well, she's not... See, your driver's license number is not something you have to give the other side. It's your insurance information, name, address, and phone number. And driver's license numbers are a little problematic, because once I have your driver's license number, I've got a data point that's much harder to get than average.
Well, and it has things probably like birthday. I'm sure.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean,
it never occurred to me. And again, I showed it to her, and I just thought, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you were also, hey, if I was an identity theft artist, right? This is a good one. We'll bump other people's cars, scream up and down that they bumped us, or break short, and then insist we can take a picture of their data and get all as much information, pump them for as much information as possible.
This was a legitimate. I did hit her. I mean, it was. I didn't question that, and I have no reason. But I guess it sounds like I should be on the lookout.
Yeah, I had a guy one time tell me, "Oh, I can get you some car accidents," and I'm like, "What do you mean by that?" He's like, "Oh, my crew, we get some car accidents." I told the district attorney, I said, "Hey, you got a guy here in town who can get some car accidents."
Well, the only saving grace, I guess, is that my license. This is like January 1st, January 2nd, and I had to have a new picture taken because my license expired today or something like that, and I hadn't had the picture taken yet, so I did have to get a new license. Although,
maybe that's what got her thinking.
So
maybe that's what got her thinking.
Yeah, but she didn't know that until she saw. It just seemed strange. I understood. I mean, she wanted to take a picture of my plate. It just kind of, and I've been in accidents before, and I understand. It just seemed
she's just a documenter. They even have kits. A friend of mine has a company, and they give them to truckers. They sell them to trucking companies, and it's a real cool little kit. Okay. And you put it in your glove box, and when you have the accident, it has like information. It basically helps the trucker take down all the detailed information, but it also includes a disposable camera, which, of course, in the digital age is getting fewer and fewer and far between. But the idea is you take that disposable camera and you take pictures of the accident scene and all the damage or whatever, and the whole package gets shipped back to the company, who then digitizes everything. But the idea is to kind of create proof, because a lot of times the truck drivers find themselves in a situation where they've had a tangle with a four-wheeler, as they like to call them, and the four-wheel guy's blaming the truck, and the truck guy wants to document that there really wasn't much damage, or that it wasn't his fault, and the kit kind of helps them do that. But it's kind of interesting. So, you'd see the get out. Of course, they have a camera, so get out, and it tells them, get pictures of everything.
Well, I didn't. I think I probably didn't take as much information as I should, like the make and model of her car. And my theory was, well, I hit her, and I'm not questioning that.
My brother drives. He's a scrap metal company, and they sometimes drive trucks to Erie, Pennsylvania from their locations, like a 50-mile run or something like this, up the highway, and people will claim that debris came off the truck and damaged their car. And apparently, it's according to my brother, the insurance people are like, yeah, it's a really common scam. You find a truck that carries some kind of material on it, like a dump truck full of stone or something, and you call in, you claim that something bounced off the guy's load and struck your car. It happens, okay? But apparently, it's also a real common scam because the guy who's driving down the road, whether a piece of metal flew off your truck or not, or whether some rocks bounced out the back, you're never going to know, right? So all that guy can say is, yeah, I was on that highway at that day and that time. And the other person claims something popped off the truck. And so yeah, my brother says that's a pretty common thing you hear. And that's why having your load properly secured and take a picture of it after, isn't a bad idea, just because prevents that. But apparently there are a lot of fraudsters out there. So. Well,
I'm sure there are. I tried to blame the accident on the weather. I was joking with my wife. I said, well, is it an act of God, like a tree falling down or something like that?
You just have to drive slower. Actually, it's called the Assured Clear Distance Rule. Now, let me tell you about the difference between around here in the snow and in western New York in the snow. Where I grew up, when it's snow on the road, we sometimes would have, say, a month where the roads were snow-covered because it was just packed on there. You can't just slam your brakes and stop. You'll slide. So when you're approaching a stop sign, we used to joke that like in January and February, stop signs were optional because stopping would cause you maybe to list a little bit. So you look, and if there's nobody coming, you just go through. And if you look and you see somebody else coming and he sees you coming, you guys, based on who's farther back from the intersection, decide who's going through first, not who's stopping and then going. And the way they drive up there, it's much less brake, a lot more coasting, a little bit more common sense because everybody's paying attention. So it's interesting. It's interesting. It goes to my theory that there should be no stop signs. There should only be yield signs. But I'm a libertarian. I know.
Well, anyway, but listen, have a great time.
All right.
In the city.
We will.
And there certainly is a lot to do. A lot to eat, too. Different kinds of foods. I don't know if your son's fussy about food or willing to try. When I was a kid, I was always willing to try it. It didn't bother me how it looked.
Yeah, if it's macaroni and cheese, he loves it, best I can tell. But I already had a little lecture with him and said, if we're going to New York, we're getting a fancy dinner, so you better be ready. He's okay. So we'll see.
You'll have him smoking cigars and drinking brandy.
No pictures.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Take care.
Now, what was this question? Can one person take somebody else's test? Or
can a person force another person to take an STD test? First of all, what is STD?
Sexually transmitted disease.
Thank you.
So can one person force another person to take one? Well, I mean, I guess there theoretically are possible ways of it. I'm just thinking this through. Like, all right, so you're going to date this girl, and she wants you to take an STD test. Okay, that sounds voluntary, right?
Okay, first of all, it was a male,
right? And he wants to force.
And I'm getting the impression that the deed has already been done.
Right. He thinks he may have gotten it from that person.
Correct. So now he wants to see if he can get her to take an STD test.
I don't think he can force it, but I think if he's gone to the doctors and the public health authorities and who his sex partners are, they may be able to track her down under those compulsory laws. There's such things as that. I'm just thinking this through. Like, yeah, so he wants to, I guess I once had a lawsuit where somebody sued somebody for giving somebody you can sue for giving an STD. So if you give me an STD, I can sue you if you knew you had it. Of course, proving the person knew they had it's always the hard part, although not always the hard part. Yeah, okay, interesting question. I know why the guy didn't want to go on the air now. Somebody might recognize his voice. Oh, I got this problem.
Yeah.
Hey, is that you, Bob?
Yeah. Hey, we playing golf later?
Is that you? Oh, is that you? Right. Wait, you sound like somebody whoa. Uh-oh. Yeah, no, yeah, and,
On a serious note, though, okay, if he feels like this person knew,
right,
okay, then maybe, I guess, my question would be, this is kind of serious.
Right.
What authority or who would he go to say, hey, listen, I got this. I know she knows about it.
You could go to the health department and say, I got this, and this is who I think I got it from, but I don't know what they can do with that information. I don't know.
Okay.
I do know if you get certain venereal diseases or STDs, that you would be reported to the health department, and they want you to disclose who your partners are, and then they track them down because they're trying to, alleviate the problem. But yeah, I've fortunately never had any personal experience with that regime. Most importantly, though, haven't had any clients sucked into it. Of course, this may be one of those things where nobody talks about it. Probably everybody's been there, but nobody wants it. Who knows? But yeah, interesting. On the other hand, if you're sure that this person... Now, here's the problem. Let's say he just thinks this is the person who gave him the STD, and he tells people that. It is slander to say that somebody else... It's actually... Just so we're clear on this, the law says that to impute a loathsome disease, particularly a venereal disease, to another person, if not true, is actionable, and the person need not prove actual damages to collect money. The jury can just award money. So you got to be very careful about accusing somebody of it if you're wrong. So it sounds like he thinks so, but he's not 100% sure.
Okay, we have one more call. It's John from Carlisle.
John, what do you got?
Well, I had some used wheels, good used wheels for a customized vehicle.
Okay.
That I left at a customized shop for them to try to sell for me because they had more, I thought, contact with people that could use them than I did. And I kept asking, have they sold them yet? No, we had one bike, but they haven't gone. Well, after a couple of years, I said, I'll just take the wheels to see if I can sell them myself. Well, they couldn't find them, and they kept looking. I kept calling, you find them yet? No, we haven't found them yet. So I sent them a bill of what I thought the value of those wheels would have been.
Mm-hmm.
If they sold them. They said, well, maybe somebody recycled them or something. We don't know what happened to them. My question is, can I go file a report that, they were lost in their possession?
Yeah.
And that's what it should go to state police and file a report?
You could file a report they were lost and maybe not stolen. You should go to district justice and sue them for the value. That's what you should do. They were the bailor of your property, and and they were responsible for its safety.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, that's your plan.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good luck.
Right.
Bye. We'll be back next week, of course. 1-800-734-2132 is the all-time number. So if you need to get hold of the office, need a legal problem throughout the week, 1-800-734-2132. Be sure and stop in at Carlisle Beer and Cigar here in Carlisle and tell them Carl sent you. You might get something for that. Probably a punch. All right, see you next week. God bless.
From the L.B. Smith Ford Lincoln Studios, this is Country Gold FM, WIOO Carlisle, and WEEO Shippensburg.
From ABC News, I'm Dave Packer. Former Israeli General and Prime Minister Ariel Sharon has died. He had spent the last 8 years in a coma after a stroke. ABC's Jeffrey Kaufman with more on the life of the former soldier turned national leader.
The Jerusalem Post headline sums up his life: a bulldozer in war and peace. The paper says the 85-year-old former prime minister and legendary military commander was Israel's most revered and most reviled politician because of his hardline views. He was seen as both peacemaker and warmonger. The paper says critics and supporters would, however, agree on one thing. Through his actions on the battlefield and in Parliament, Sharon shaped the Israel of today. Jeffrey Kaufman, ABC News.
300,000 people in the Charleston area of West Virginia remain without fresh drinking water, told not to bathe, clean, or cook with the water contaminated when a chemical leak from a storage tank at Freedom Industries. Gary Southern is the president.
This incident is extremely unfortunate, unanticipated, and we are very, very sorry for the disruption to everybody's daily life that this incident has caused.
And too much water from the Midwest to the Northeast today. Heavy rains on top of melting snow making for dangerous driving and potential flooding. Massive deadly flooding in South Florida, where some areas got over 18 inches in a day. 2 deaths blamed on the deluge, 1 victim pulled from a submerged car. A State Department travel advisory for the Olympic Games in Russia.
For Americans headed to the Olympics next month, a new warning from the State Department. Be on the lookout for terrorism. In a travel alert issued Friday, the State Department urges Americans to be vigilant, especially on public transportation. The warning says there's no sign that Americans are being targeted, but it follows several attacks near Sochi.
ABC's Kurit Radia in Moscow. You're listening to ABC News.
It's football season at Buffalo Wild Wings, and there's no other place that packs in the action like we do. When there's a timeout during a game, you're watching another game. And when you're not watching that game, you're watching another game. With over 50 big screens, your eyes won't miss any of the action. And neither will your taste buds. You'll enjoy hand-spun wings and 16 signature sauces and 5 seasonings, ultimate nachos, burgers, and over 20 beers on draft. Maybe action-packed is a bit of an understatement.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
I don't like sit-down dinners. I don't go to sit-down strikes. I like standing room only, and I don't ride bikes.
This pretty bad song's by a guy with pretty bad hemorrhoids. He needs Preparation H relief with the power of 2. First, use fast-acting Preparation H medicated wipes. Then, longer-lasting Preparation H maximum strength cream.
Let's sit together on the porch swing.
Preparation H. Don't stand for hemorrhoids. Use as directed. Look for Preparation H at Walmart.
It's been 3 weeks since a South Carolina woman vanished after being out on a date. Volunteers are once again combing the area where 20-year-old Heather Elvis was last seen. Her sister, Morgan Elvis, says it's a reminder to be kind to your loved ones.
I think that everybody should take a moment to hold their family and tell them that they love them, because sometimes it's not enough to just assume that they know.
After not showing up for work, police found her abandoned car not far from her parents' home. A case of mistaken identity that has a grieving family furious.
The tragedy began when Lisa Convar's mother, Margaret Porca, died while on a family vacation in St. Martin. The body was supposed to be transported to New Jersey, where her father lives. Lisa describes what they saw when they opened the casket.
Oh my God, that's not her. That's not my mom. You know, and it was just so horrifying.
But the body was wearing the right clothing.
We had picked a beautiful outfit that my mom wore for my niece's wedding, and this person was wearing it.
So what happened to Margaret? The family believes her body was sent to Canada, where the receiving family cremated it. The State Department has been notified. Todd Ant, ABC News.
It was even worse than we thought. Target saying the theft of data affected millions more shoppers than was reported last month. We had heard the breach was between Black Friday and Christmas, but new information showing that some shoppers' info may have been stolen from outside of that time frame. This is ABC News.
GastricBypassNoSurgery.com. Roca Labs invented a natural formula that replaces the need for expensive and dangerous surgery. This gastric bypass no surgery formula creates an immediate effect without surgery. Roca Labs formula is better, safer, and cheaper than gastric bypass surgery. Roca Labs has over 100,000 success videos on YouTube. Go to GastricBypassNoSurgery.com.
Dave Packer, ABC News.
It's the first of its kind. Magnolia's Jewelers International Jewelry Outlet is the Mid-State's most affordable source for distinct and unique gold jewelry, precious gems, and diamonds of all shapes and sizes. Stop by and meet Magnolia's Jewelers' friendly staff at 728 North Hanover Street and find the perfect gift. There's a beautiful selection of diamonds, 10 to 18 karat gold jewelry, platinum jewelry, both freshwater and cultured pearls, and lovely gold bracelets and chains in solid and link styles. Best of all, everything is priced 30% less less than the rest. Magnolia's Jewelers even does repairs, sizing, and creates custom jewelry to meet your designs. And don't forget, Magnolia's pays top dollar for your unwanted gold. Now you don't have to travel to the big city to enjoy outlet prices on fine quality gold jewelry. Magnolia's Jewelers is open Monday through Friday from 10 until 5, and then Saturdays by appointment. Give a gift or treat yourself to exquisite jewelry from Magnolia's Jewelers on Route 11, the Harrisburg Pike Carlisle, across from AutoZone and near the Army War College.
From ABC Sports, I'm Dave Schreiber. It took 2 overtimes, but the Brooklyn Nets made a statement on Friday night.
Livingston given room. Moves left on a Garnett screen to the baseline. Back to Garnett. Garnett cross court right to Pierce. Open three. Score! Timeout Miami!
WFAN with the call as the Nets won their 5th straight game, a 104-95 victory over the 2-time defending champion Miami Heat. Joe Johnson paced Brooklyn with 32 points. Elsewhere around the association, the Pacers stymied the Wizards 93-66. The Hawks soared past the Rockets 83-80. The Clippers blasted the Lakers 123-87, and the Warriors got by the Celtics 99-97. This is ABC Sports.
Do you live with stress? If you have nervousness or common everyday anxiety, we're looking for you. Because right now we're sending risk-free supplies of a fast-acting supplement to listeners of this station. You heard right. Every listener who calls right now will learn how to get a risk-free bottle of Stress Block, a naturally derived formula that promotes feelings of calmness, alertness, and focus in just moments. Supplies for this risk-free offer are limited, so don't wait. Just call 1-800-489-9171. Stress Block is a fast-acting, non-prescription formula to support relaxation without causing drowsiness. Your nervousness is guaranteed to begin fading like magic in just minutes. This special risk-free offer is for listeners of this station, but it won't last. Call us now for this exclusive Stress Block risk-free offer. Just call 1-800-489-9171. That's 1-800-489-9171. Call 1-800-489-9171.
Former USC head coach Lane Kiffin will join Nick Saban's staff at the University of Alabama as the offensive coordinator. ESPN's Chris Lowe has more.
Nick is all about getting the guys in there on his staff that he feels like develop players, coach them the right way, and recruit, and those are the things that Lane Kiffin does very well.
The road to Super Bowl 48 at MetLife Stadium continues later today with 2 divisional round playoff matchups. First, in the NFC, the Saints head into Seattle to take on the Seahawks. Seattle will be looking for their 6th consecutive home playoff win and will be aided by the return of wide receiver Percy Harvin. Harvin on finally getting a chance to play in a meaningful game this season.
I never feel any pressure of that sort. I've always felt confident in my game. I practice tremendously hard. My coaches prepare me well. I prepare myself well. So when it comes to football, I don't try to overdo it or play out the odds. I make the plays I think I can make, and I do the things I think I can do.
AFC Andrew Luck and the Colts travel to Foxborough to take on Tom Brady and the Patriots.
We've been in a lot of close games. They've been in a lot of close games, probably more than anybody in the league. And, they find a way to win them. That's why they're here at this point. So hopefully we can go out and be the team that comes out on top.
And kickoff for that game is 8:15 p.m. Eastern. Dave Schreiber, ABC Sports.
If you need notary service or tags, title, or registration, then call Flora Vogt Notary Public. She's been a notary public in Pennsylvania for 31 years, and she's the least expensive notary in town. But the best part is, Flora Vogt will come to you. You heard right. If you're unable to travel, she'll come to you. Flora is also licensed with PennDOT, so if it's license plates, tag transfers, or instant registration renewals, call Flora Vogt at 249-2180.
Hi, this is Flora Vogt. I've been a notary public in Pennsylvania for 31 years.
I have mobile notary services, so if you're bedridden or without transportation, I can come to you. I can also issue license plates, transfer tags, and do instant registration renewals. I offer these services for the least expensive fees in the area. Remember, if you need me to come to you, I can. Call 249-2180. That's 249-2180.
Call Flora Vogt Notary Public at 249-2180. Remember, she'll come to you. That's 249-2180.
Country Gold weather.
Well, the word today is wet. Yeah, you heard me. Wet, but warm. How about that little W and W? Wet and warm. Sounds like a perfect combination. High today, 58 degrees. Let's see. Sunny tomorrow. Breezy and cooler. High tomorrow, 48. Yeah, I said 58 and 48, and it's January. So how bad can it be? Overnight low, only down to 38. Right now, we're 41 degrees. Country Gold AM and FM, WIOO.
JJ Randolph.
That be me.
WIOO-FM.
I went to a garden party to reminisce with my old friends. A chance to share old